All the books read that have influenced this video's topic will be talked about at the end, and the link to every book is down in the description. I would suggest to everyone to read those books. Those who have a why to live can bear with almost anyhow.
Stop the bombs in time. If I don't get you, webhead, my diagnosis will. Holy Hannah, and you're running out of fluid. Is this more action than even Spider-Man can handle?
Video games have played a tremendous role in my life, from childhood to this day. As a Zoomer, this might not come as a surprise for any of you. Many of you watching are either Zoomers or Millennials yourselves. Therefore, most of you have witnessed the importance of video games. What I can assure you though, is the fact that the world has realized its importance and its potential as well. For 10 years in a row now, the video game industry has made more money annually than the music and movie industry combined. This might come as a surprise, but if you ever stop to think about it, it was inevitable. Thousands of years ago, men were bored, so men started writing. Creating, for the first time, something that we now know as books. A medium designed to write down past and current happenings. A medium that allows the writer to explore the freedoms of a blank page. And a medium that enables one's imagination to run wild. Humans have always wanted to explore their own wildest fantasies. I would suggest that it all starts with the hardships of real life. Where one nowadays can be beaten up by the work conditions or the yelling of a mother, or to be enslaved because of your religion or gassed to death in a concentration camp. Very different scenarios, I am aware of that, but hardship is a question of perspective. A slave has it 1,000 times harder than a 9-to-5 worker that can't stand the system and whatnot. But the 9-to-5 worker can psychologically make himself feel as if he's being enslaved, which explains why so many people in our Western society are as depressed as they are, even though we have it better than ever before. Well, that and the lack of purpose in people's lives. Only men will inflict suffering for the sake of suffering. So, no matter how far we innovate, humans will always find new hardships that will arise or that we will invent in our own minds. So, no matter the hardships you face, you as a human being automatically start to think of ways to solve these hardships. We humans are intrinsically wired to innovate, and many of our innovations come from and thrive in our dreams. These hardships, just like dreams, lead us astray from reality, make us want to look for something greater and dream of something bigger. Which is why, in my opinion, entertainment has captured such a grip and interest from the earliest ages on. It makes us feel, not good, not bad, but just in general, feel. Feeling is what many of us strive for after a long day of work or studying. After all, during said session, the only thing you really feel is boredom. And in all sincerity, boredom is no feeling in itself. If anything, boredom is the lack thereof. The lack of feeling anything makes you bored. When you're happy, you're not bored. When you're sad, you're not bored. And when you're angry, you're definitely not bored. Boredom is one of the worst sentiments in one's life. It's the accumulation of a lack of meaning and purpose combined with the absence of any feeling mingled together with the shortage of physical activity. That's also why most of us strive to rid ourselves of boredom. Therefore, according to me, entertainment will always shift in its medium, but will never cease to exist.
Whatever happened to entertainment?
Well, we've been writing educational programs so long, we've forgotten entertainment.
You've educated them so much they're too smart to watch TV.
From the ancient Greek who over 2,000 years ago spent their spare time attending to theaters, to the Romans who enjoyed seeing humans kill each other in the Colosseum, to more civilized board games, and back to nowadays, where we once again enjoy the killing of other human beings, albeit digitally now without compromising our own morality. So it's futile really to argue against the creation and the success of video games. They were the inevitable outcome of us humans looking to solve problems in our daily lives. problems of boredom, problems of overburden of labor, and problems of apathy. Video games are the closest thing we currently have that enable us to act out our deepest fantasies, and that is truly incredible. Video games started off very primitive. In October of 1958, physicist William Higginbotham created what is thought to be the first video game ever, Pong. 2 lines and a dot in the middle representing a ball that is bouncing around between 2 players until the ball passes behind one of the player's defending lines. It was an old concept of entertainment that was brought back on that day, the concept of active entertainment.
Is it against the rules?
Technically, yes.
So then it's cheating.
No, what it is helping people enjoy baseball more. It's entertainment.
We humans used to not have much more in forms of entertainment other than hunting, fishing, socializing, and well, fornicate if you really want to count that as well. But all these forms of amusement were active forms of entertainment. They required physical and/or mental investment. Times passed though, humans started to settle, and henceforth we also started to routinely work, which required physical and mental investment from us in itself. This work routine though also allowed us to have more free time, but now, after working for the whole day, exhausting your body and mind, the last thing you would want to do is go hunting, to go fishing, and sometimes you don't even want to go down to business anymore, if you know what I mean. So humans started to look for new means of entertainment. The Olympic Games, the gladiator matches, the traditional theater, the circus, the Hunger Games, oh, we haven't done that one yet? Okay, good, at least. Let's move on. The opera, street performances, novels, comic books, cinema and film, TV shows, parades, music, fireworks and sports games, all of which are a farewell to active entertainment. These activities require us to watch and to listen. The only one that comes close to an active form of entertainment would be the reading of books, which actively asks of you to go through every sentence, understand what is being said, and apply it to the rest of the book, and hopefully be able to apply it to one's own life as well. Board games, on the other hand, are the only form that really kept the aspect of personal activity. The issue with board games is that they are strongly based on luck, which disincentivizes improvement, since no matter how much better you get at the board game, the dice odds don't change. And the other issues board games face are the limits on imagination and the aspect of novelty. A board game is really fun the first time you play it. After you've gone through 10 rounds though, it kind of feels like you're going through a loop. A never-ending loop of bad dice rolls and character movements. So many people don't like to play board games all the time. It also mostly is a time-consuming endeavor. Most actually interesting board games just take way too long. Monopoly, Risk, Chess, Scrabble, Clue, The Game of Life, and many more. Now don't misunderstand me here. Uno is fun. But winning a game of Uno is not satisfying. It feels more like passing time than actual entertainment. But winning a game of Monopoly or Risk, now that gives a boost in dopamine. It's incredible. Well, at least that's how I feel when playing those games. So since board games do not quite satisfy people's need for entertainment, for all the reasons mentioned before, people retracted to passive forms of entertainment. Movies and TV programs have therefore dominated the entertainment market since the 1910s. Industries that have brought with it many great wonders. But the overabundance of it left us humans numb. It created a cultural mentality of couch sitting, of staying put in the same place for hours on end without having to move or to think, nothing at all. It made us passive. Or even worse, it is still making us passive. Watching TV is, in my opinion, a degrading form of leisure. It doesn't in any shape or form enhance our human capabilities. At best, one could argue that you learn new things every now and then when watching TV or movies. But even then, it is hard to say how much of the learned information is actually accurate and how much of it is just Hollywood propaganda, or as I like to call it, fake news. So years passed, and the human drive to go back to its roots prevailed. We humans will always pursue some form of activity, be it physical or mental. So gaming came along with physicist William Higginbotham. And it completely changed how we look at entertainment. we once again go back to enjoying killing one another, but now we can actually do it without having to harm the other person, at least physically. Gaming allows humanity to go back to an active form of entertainment, one that requires quick brain-to-finger connectivity, one that requires extremely quick reflexes, and incredibly complex problem-solving skills. One that will teach you many things in life, and in my opinion, the one form of entertainment that will teach you the most important lesson of life.
Where was I going with this?
I said creative writing is hard.
Oh, yeah. Perseverance, Steve. It's all about perseverance. And if I, a Merrick, can't teach you about it, I have a friend who a Merrick will.
Now, without trying to boost my own opinion here, I actually think that the most important lesson to learn in life, and one that is better taught to children, is the lesson of never giving up. The lesson of knowing that you can only lose if you give up. Let's take this as an example. 2 years ago, I bought myself God of War 2018. The next entry in a series that I had been playing for years now. After having played through God of War 3 for the third or fourth time already, I was obviously passionate for the new release, and as I fondly remembered, those games were hard, especially when you got surrounded by enemies without any option of escape. After inserting the disc into my PlayStation 4 and waiting 20 minutes for the update to be made, I booted up the game and was greeted with a selection screen. And this selection screen pretty much asked me if I would want to watch a movie that I take control of, if I would like to play a video game, or if I'd rather prefer to play a God of War game. After assessing it shortly and also reading that choosing the Give Me God of War mode has no option to switch difficulties mid-game, I nonetheless chose to go with it. I really wanted to challenge myself and miss the difficulty of the old games. Now keep in mind that the majority of people that have never played any video games in their whole life don't naturally have as strong of an urge to challenge themselves as gamers do, in my opinion. Now, don't misquote me here. Many people have an intrinsic sense of challenge within themselves nonetheless, no matter if they ever played any video games or not. Some learn the teachings of perseverance throughout life, some don't, but many, even if they once possessed such skills, lose it with time. They get comfortable in their own skin and give up on challenges because they think that life is hard enough the way it is. But life is not truly too hard. As long as life stays hard and challenging, everything is fine and you can be assured that you are journeying through the right path. But once life starts to become overly comfortable, things start to get boring, and it is then that people start confusing boredom with hardship. Keep your life challenging and it will stay interesting. Make it boring and it'll stay depressing. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Ask any bodybuilder, millionaire, billionaire, whatever, if you want to achieve anything in life, you have to be always challenging yourself. And video games are a great reminder that a good challenge will bring you a lot further in life than an easy cop-out. So I went for it. Give me God of War mode, which is just complete bullshit. It's a lie, a huge lie. It should be called Give Me Pain mode, because I remember the old God of War games very vividly. They are one of my favorite video game franchises. And they were difficult. They were really hard. But this, this was different. This caused literal pain. I remember taking 2 full hours to fight off the first couple of enemies, which are supposed to only be an intro, kind of, a tutorial of what the game will look like. Throughout those 2 hours of, dying, I was on the brink of giving up multiple times. But I kept going. And at some point, I feel like I wasn't even feeling myself anymore. I just kept going. Trying again and again and again and again. This perseverance was even to me at that point admirable. I didn't know what was pushing me forward. I just knew that I had to, so I did. Well, at least nowadays I know what was pushing me forward. Subconsciously, I knew that I can only lose if I stop now. I can only fail if I give up now. So I persevered, and I very well did. After 2 hours and a few punches into my chair, my mattress, and the wall, I finally made it. And at that point, I realized something. I just took 2 hours to beat the tutorial of a 25-hour-long story. If I keep this up, I'll be done with this game in about 2 years. This was the most crucial moment in the whole game for me. It was a question on whether or not I should continue after this small victory with restarting on an easier difficulty, or if I should keep going because I'm not a pussy, though then be potentially risking to not finish the game because I might lack the necessary skills to complete it. It's not an easy choice to be made, especially considering that the small win I just conquered would be completely overshadowed by the amount of deaths that would ensue if I moved on. And people do not like to give up victories. No matter how small they are, it goes against our willingness to want things to be easy. And in this era that we live in right now, this willingness is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But very important, as I said, easy is not what we should be aiming for in life. Meaning is. Which is why I always tell people that you should never do what makes you happy. You should always strive to do what gives you meaning. Happiness is a shallow feeling that can be achieved as easily as it can vanish. Shallow happiness is what we nowadays perceive as a shallow feeling of getting what one wants and not what one needs. Happiness in this sense is the feeling you get after eating a bar of chocolate, even though you told yourself that you would stop doing that. But true happiness is derived from meaning, and it can only be found in something that will give you meaning. But meaning is hard to find and even harder to successfully achieve. But it is this hardship that transforms the shallow happiness of a candy bar into the deep and fulfilling sensation of happiness that comes from having something that gives you meaning and then, after hard work, achieving it. Perhaps happiness is always to be found in the journey uphill, and not the fleeting sense of satisfaction awaiting at the next peak. Meaning emerges when impulses are regulated, organized, and unified. So instead of opting for the option of stopping in my tracks and restarting the game anew, which would have made me happy, I decided to keep going, to look for something that will give me meaning, a hardship that I will have to endure, but that will hopefully fill me with a sense of accomplishment once I have achieved it. And so my very long journey through Give Me God of War mode began. What an amazing game that was. After completing the story, I put aside my controller and let out a deep victory scream. I don't have much to show for it, especially since there is no trophy for completing the game in sad difficulty. But I was able to take with me an immense sense of accomplishment and pride, and that I carry around to this day, so that is priceless. It is an experience that required so much of my brain power. I had to develop new skills that I had never previously used or had been long forgotten. My reflexes had to be extremely refined to a point where literally milliseconds were making a difference. My perseverance threshold was incredibly increased. My knowledge of Northern mythology developed and flourished for the first time in my life. My brain-to-finger coordination was polished and my love for video games once again awakened. None of these psychological skills, life lessons, or physical improvements would I have ever obtained from watching a movie, some generic TV show, and even less from watching regular broadcast television. Video games have incredibly changed how we as a generation grow up, how we as a generation learn, and how we as a generation solve problems. Video games are the gateway into a reincarnated form of entertainment. Active entertainment. It has taught us many things and will hopefully keep teaching us many more things. It will hopefully teach us to understand ourselves better, and it will hopefully keep teaching us not to give up. And now there is one more question that needs to be answered. Why is it that perseverance matters this much? Before I answer the question, let me read this statement from Entrepreneur South Africa, where in one of their articles they state, "What does it take to open a successful business, franchise it, and then take it global? In many instances, The answer is grit, determination, and the ability to get back up when life knocks you down. In fact, Angela Lee Duckworth, an academic and psychologist based at the University of Pennsylvania, where she studies concepts such as self-control and grit to determine how they might predict academic and professional success, believes that the single biggest predictor of success isn't social intelligence, good looks, physical health, or even IQ. The single biggest predictor of success is grit. In other words, grit, determination, or perseverance, whatever you want to call it, is the most determining factor in deciding on whether or not you'll be successful. Of course, this is just the opinion of one article, but if you think about any problem you have faced or are still facing right now, logically speaking, the best person to solve that problem for you and solve it for good are you. Because if you get your problem solved by someone else, you will never learn how to solve these problems yourself, meaning that you will end up becoming dependent on that person's mercy to help you. If you don't solve the problems yourself, it will arise anew, and if you are unlucky, it will be worse than before. No one will ever do as good of a job of solving your problems as you will. This might not be something you would like to hear, this might not be something you would want to hear, but it is something that many of us need to hear. If you are not happy with where you are currently in life, well then that is your fault. If you think that you are just a victim of an oppressing system, well then that just means that you didn't try hard enough. And yes, it does. It very much does. It is not virtuous to be victimized by a bully, even if that bully is oneself. If Vic Vujicic, a man without any of his limbs, can write books, record DVDs for children, hold public speeches, and be happy with where he is in life, then so can you.
Everybody's going through something. You know, we're all going through something, just my pain is a bit more visible than yours or somebody else. When that clicked, it was like a light bulb when, just flashed in my brain. I'm like, hey, now life I see as an opportunity. This circumstance, there's got to be something good.
No arms, no legs.
No worries, mate.
And if the first thought that you had right now was that he has a leg up because he stands out for having no limbs, then you gotta check your own victimhood mentality. There are millions of humans in this world that are missing some or most of their limbs, but they don't all stand out because of it. Nick Vujicic did not stand out because he's disabled. He stood out because he achieved what he achieved despite being disabled. It's about what you do with the resources that are handed to you and not about complaining about the ones that you are missing. Sometimes, when things are not going well, it is not the world that is the cause. That's why I love video games. It taught me that life isn't fair, just as Dark Souls, Bloodborne, God of War, and many other games aren't. But it's not about life being fair. It's about winning at life and being successful despite life not being fair. It's about realizing that life will knock you down and sometimes really hard. But you can never lose the game of life if you refuse to give in. You can never be a victim of someone else if you take responsibility of your own failures. And if you take responsibility of your failures, you now have the power to change the outcome of your own destiny. You now gave the responsibility to change the outcome to you. So you can now decide what happens next, and every time you do so, you increase your own threshold to accept the blame every time something bad happens to you. Don't fear criticism because it will be the one thing that will make you the strongest in life. Ever tried? Ever failed? No matter. Try again, fail better. And now I ask you, will you take your own life into your hands and never again blame someone or something else for your failures, or will you quit playing the game and turn it all off? Because you see, in life, you can't just restart and try again on an easier difficulty. You just gotta take the resources that you have and make the best you can with them. So will you play or will you give up? All of it is up to you, and only you. extreme ownership. Leaders must own everything in their world. There is no one else to blame. Thanks to all of you guys for watching. It's been a while since I posted, I know. It got stressed throughout the holidays and then I went on vacation, so the channel went on a back burner, but I don't want to be making excuses. I'm back now. Let's get the grind back on going. I expect to be bringing out a video every week, unless I make a video as big as this one, then it's gonna be every 2 weeks, but I'll keep you guys posted. Check out my Twitter and Instagram if you want to chat with me or want to know what I'm up to. But other than that, feel free to subscribe, I would love it. I could need it. Just kidding. Thanks guys, see you in the next one. And now let's get into the books. First we have 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos by Jordan Peterson. Besides the fact that I strongly admire the man and what he is trying to accomplish in this world, his book really opens up your mind to what is going on within you and around you. The 12 rules in themselves seem very trivial, but once you start to think about them and wonder whether or not you've been implementing them correctly, those thoughts cause you to reconsider how you've looked at certain things within your life. It's a great read. I would suggest it to anyone who would like to improve him or herself. Next, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl, a Jewish Holocaust survivor. This book is fairly short, but it accomplishes a great lot in the 130 pages it is comprised of. To get a look inside what it must have felt like to be a Jew in a Second World War concentration camp is reason enough to give this book a shot. But the fact that Frankl tackles the reason for meaning and why we humans need it will change your perspective of life and teach you how much we need to be thankful for. And lastly, we have Jocko Willink's and Leif Babin's Extreme Ownership, How US Navy SEALs Lead and Win. This book changed how I look at leaders, teammates, workmates, and myself. It definitely shifted how I think about life and my goals in life. Have you ever told yourself, God, my superior sucks. He doesn't get anything done right. Or maybe, my teammates are so incapable and pathetic. Or any form of similar criticism? Well, maybe your superior doesn't change because no one has ever challenged him, which makes the situation be your fault. You could have challenged him. But maybe he has heard the criticism and still won't change? Well, then changing his attitude won't be easy for sure. So now the question becomes, what can you do to improve the situation for yourself? Because only blaming someone else is obviously not going to help you out. Take life into your own hands and do something about it. This book will definitely change how you look at leading and will make you a whole lot more responsible if you are able to implement what the book is trying to teach. Check out those books, they are all in the description, a link to them at least. I would really suggest anyone to read those books. They are really fundamentally important to someone's life. There are many other books that I have read that I would like to talk about, but if anything, I would implement them in a video like this, where I talk about video games connected with books or connected with life lessons, philosophy, psychology, whatever. These videos are quite an endeavor to do. It took me quite a while. No, I did not spend 3 months working on this video, but still, they take a lot of time to be created. So I would appreciate if you would like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me, and let me know what you would like to see next.
The ideal man bears the accidents of life with dignity and grace, making the best of circumstances.
To see through you, I can. To subscribe to my channel, you want. To like the video, you will, young Padawan. To defeat the YouTube algorithm, strong enough, I am not. Together, grow we must. Together succeed, we shall. Much to learn, we still have. Farewell, young Padawan.